Well, let's get started, and if people jump in, we can loop them in with some of the more important things. But Tina, thank you for joining us. Um, the whole truck driver shortage has been the biggest issue that's been facing MMTA members for years now. At least five, probably longer. And the board has been looking for new and different ways to not only attract retain current our existing workforce, but also to attract new folks to the industry. We've endeavored to start a workforce development campaign. I'm not sure whether you're familiar with that, the Go Your Way campaign, and that is the target audience for that is young people. It's a campaign that can be expanded to include different audiences well in the future, but right now we're looking to focus on young people. And another component to that is to try to look at the different barriers to entry. And one of those barriers to entry is financing for schools like yours, which is why the association has decided to put up some significant resources to lower that barrier. It doesn't do away with it, and we're not going to give everybody and anybody loans, 0% interest loans, but it's a way to try to mitigate that financial impact for certain people that are going to CDL schools. So the basics, I'll go through the basics of the program, and then Rick can fill in the details of anything that I've missed, which will probably be wide and varied. But it's, again, a 0% interest loan, 100% financing for the tuition costs up to $7,000. The first payment is deferred until 60 days after the completion of the course. Rick will talk a little bit about the repayment terms, but generally it's up to 36 months with a minimum payment of $50. No collateral or prior credit is required, although we do have credit scores that are necessary as far as thresholds go. Main Savings has put together a very, very easy application online, which is fabulous. And we also have an appeal process. So if somebody doesn't meet the general standards that we've set forward, then they can appeal to us. And by us, I mean MMTA. MMTA are the ones that are underwriting these loans, so that if there are circumstances that we feel are mitigating for the individual, MMTA can always authorize through the appeal process. Now, the appeal process is a two-step process. They need to send in a form through our website. They also need to download their credit report, their Equifax credit report, and send that, because obviously that can give us additional information as well. And only eligible trade schools, which yours is one, is eligible. And what makes the schools eligible, to be honest with you, is the refund policy. There are some schools out there that have if once they sign up, that's it. There's no refund. And we're trying to, while we are weighing the risk versus reward to this, we don't think a no refund policy is something that we want to get involved with, because things happen. We all know things happen. So.
Yeah, and to add to that no refund policy, if we have a student who is in the program and they need to take a break for a while, we allow them to re-enter.
Great.
Without, there's no penalty, just come back to class.
Yeah. And that's the type of that's the type of flexibility that we appreciate, because you're right, different people have different circumstances and things happen, and you never know how it's not like traditional, a start, middle, and an end for every single student.
Yeah.
So Rick, tell me what I've missed as far as what Tina should know, at least on the front end, and then she can ask us all kinds of probing questions.
Yeah. Well, Main Savings is, like many other credit unions, we have membership requirements. So membership means they have to be a member of Main Savings with a minimum $5 savings account. Main Savings is unique in the fact that we are the only state credit union in the state of Maine that allows anyone who is a Maine resident to be a member. So it's very wide open. So it is only for Maine residents. So we can't take a Massachusetts borrower who wants to come up to your school and become part of this because they're not a Maine resident. So that's one of the stipulations, the criteria that does create a little bit of a backup, make sure we have that process in place. MMTA, as Brian said, is really, they are the underwriters. They are the ones that set up the criteria for this loan. So we only do what they tell us is what they want to have done, because again, they're backing these loans. If something goes wrong, they have to deal with any type of loss that may be part of it. It's really great that you have the ability for a borrower, a student, to come back if they have to take a break and start over or wherever they left off. We are allowing for modifications of those loans. As Brian said, there's 60 days from the end date of what we anticipated to be their original end date of the class. So if they started a 5-week class or a 6-week class and they said, oh, we need to revamp, life has changed, life is like it is, we need to move to a 12-week course, all the borrower has to do is come to us. We'll have them sign a modification that the first payment doesn't start until 60 days after the new graduation period of time. So we'll make it as flexible as possible. So those are the basic pieces that I want to make sure that you understand. So the credit score of the 640 minimum credit score is something that we worked out with MMTA. They felt comfortable with that. But obviously there's some additional, as Brian said, regarding an appeal process. There's been a couple of people that have applied, one that I've talked to these guys about. I'm not sure if he's gone through the process of appeal or not, but it's kind of too bad. I think there was some merits to that one. We had one the other day that just, well, it was 40 points under, but this all about medical collection accounts. And there's a lot of them, but there's a lot of good credit out there. So that may be a good one that could be an appeal. And for a while, I'm sure that Brian or Tim may call me and say, oh, why do you think the credit score is this way on this person? Credit scores are fickle. They're terribly fickle. So credit scores can swing very drastically, 40, 50, 60 points in a matter of just a few weeks, depending on how someone uses their credit. So we want to stay open and be able to guide these things through. But we're hoping that we're going to get more applications that fit the guidelines and can run through just perfectly.
Yeah, which is really why we're reaching out to folks like you, Tina, because it's not like we're selling these loans. We're not making money on it. You know, this is not a matter of, you know, the more loans we dole out, the better we're going to do. Actually, the more loans we dole out, the more money that's going to come out of MMTA's pocket, which is perfectly fine if that produces truck drivers. So you know, folks like you are going to be the best salespeople, for lack of better terms, or at least giving them an option. This is an avenue for them to pursue. If a traditional loan, if they don't have a rich uncle, if, you know, those types of things don't pan out, this is just one more financing option for them.
Okay.
So, questions?
What kind of questions
I've got
you got?
some, yeah.
All right.
I mentioned a couple minutes ago about somebody taking a break, and then Rick, you talked about a shorter amount of time. Let's say somebody, our truck driving program runs a semester long, about 15 weeks. And then sometimes we have some stragglers like we do now who, for whatever reason, didn't get all their drive time in, and they're a little bit behind in getting their license. And we generally know that. But if somebody had to stop out from one semester to the next, is that still an okay break? And then that could adjust the time when they started paying the loan back. So like, let's say it was 6 months.
Are they still enrolled in your program though?
Yes.
So I think that's obviously up to MMTA because they're really paying the bills as it goes along. I think that it would depend for them as far as when we're not gonna let the thing go for 2 years. You don't want to be, it needs to be at the maximum. So we'd probably have to come up with some type of a maximum time frame
Okay.
for saying, okay, we're not gonna let you skip 2 semesters, maybe only 1 semester.
Okay. And we haven't had a case like that yet, but I'm just thinking ahead. We've got extenuating circumstances. COVID's still out there. We've got people who are taking care of their elderly parents and all this stuff. And occasionally we do have a student who needs to, who has to take a month off from driving and then they come back. And so we really haven't seen it yet, but just, like I said, worst case scenario.
But at that point, the loan, whatever loan, whether it's through us or somebody else, will have already, the application will be made and they'll have been approved. So,
And funds dispersed.
and funds dispersed. So it's really a matter of how do we, MMTA and Maine Savings, handle the first, when do we start making them pay it back? And and I think that will be determined on a case by case basis, I would imagine.
Okay.
So we will look for our direction from MMTA on an individual basis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone says they're not gonna be able to finish it out until the next semester. What does that mean for time frame? And then Tim and Brian are going to make a decision if we're okay with doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And likely, Tina, we'll be in touch with you to get from a ground level, what the circumstances are, because we can be told one thing by the loan, the person getting the loan, and the reality may be something completely different.
Oh, you think?
Not that we're cynical people, but Tim's a former state trooper, so he's a natural born cynic.
Yeah, I've never been lied to.
Never ever.
No.
Neither have we.
Right.
From start to finish, we identify someone who may be eligible or would be interested in this loan. What is the length of time from application process to approval or denial?
It can be immediate. As soon as they make out the application, we obviously would like to have everyone start their process going to the MMTA website, grabbing the link to this program, which takes them directly to an application. The application can be approved instantaneously if they meet the criteria.
Okay.
Again, the only criteria is credits driven. Yeah, so there's no income criteria that is necessary. It's just a matter of criteria for credit. If that is approved and we get a bill or a statement from the school saying this is the amount of the tuition cost for this semester, we can send a check out the next day.
Okay.
Because we'll have this loan signed electronically by DocuSign. So it technically could all be done in a day.
Okay. All right, so you answered my next question. What happens if somebody declares bankruptcy?
Technically, bankruptcy does not get extinguished for these types of loans. I don't know if I talked to Brian Tim about that, but anything that is notated as being a loan for students' debt for going through school is not dischargeable in bankruptcy.
Okay. Yeah,
From someone who's been through bankruptcy, but it's not dischargeable. Still collectible.
Okay. So the person would fill out all the application information online, but if they had specific questions about the loan or the provisions of the loan, who would they contact? MMTA, or would they contact you, Rick?
They contact Maine Savings. It's
Okay.
It's a basic transaction as far as the monthly payments. Interest is 0, so it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Unless they know that they've got credit issues, but then what we'd recommend is them going through the process, be declined, and then go through the appeal process through MMTA.
Okay.
Declines, I'll go through MMTA directly. Approvals, then contact us.
Are you currently doing the loan program, or is this brand new? We haven't even rolled it out yet.
It's up and rolling.
Okay.
We've had some applications. No one has successfully gone through perfectly yet. So
we have, I would say, 3/4 of our students qualify for funding through the Career Center, and it's based on income level. So I see students who, we've got a couple self-pay students who are making, we have a payment plan that students go through when they're self-pay or when the employer pays. And I see this being very useful for those students. It kind of defers the pain until after they're done with the program. And if it's not dischargeable under bankruptcy, then they're still on the hook for the money anyway. Whereas when we've got a payment, we've had a couple students disappear and not finish their payments, although we do require that the account's paid in full before you go for your driving test. Sometimes that doesn't happen. But I think this would be actually better for us because it wouldn't, we would get the money, the student would still be required to pay it back regardless of what their situation is. So it sounds like a good program.
I think it's a pretty good program all the way around. Even someone who has the money to pay for it, they could actually use our funds 0%, then paid off later on because it's not going to cost them anything. There really are no hidden fees.
And the good thing about borrowing is it improves your credit score. If you're making regular payments, and that's a good situation for the student. Now my next question is, the check is cut to the school, it doesn't go to the student, and then the student pays the school. Is that correct?
We pay it directly to the school with a restrictive endorsement on the back.
Okay.
Any refunds would come back to Main Savings to be applied back to the student's account.
Okay. And there's a $7,000 maximum, which is fine because our price is $5,500.
Okay.
Is there an age limitation on the low end for the
18.
loan? 18? Okay. All right. The high school students are covered by the tech school.
Right. Which is why we came up with the 18 as the floor.
Plus 18 is the only age that you can actually collect a debt from. Otherwise, they could, as soon as they turn 18, they say, nope, I was not over 18, so you can't collect this debt, and it just shuts off. It's very, very strange how they can take a loan out at 17 years and 9 months old. At 18, they say, nope, I'm not responsible because I was under 18, and you can't collect that debt. Interesting.
Yeah, it is. I didn't know that, but it figures.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense. Besides our refund policy, is there anything else that we need to institute in order to make it easier for the process?
The answer to that is not at this point, but this is a learning process. So we may find that we may come to you folks and say, in order to expedite this, to get you guys paid quicker, or to get your students through the program quicker or easier or more efficiently or whatever, we may end up doing that in the future. But right now, we're walking, then running, and right now we're in the crawling stage.
Okay.
But I appreciate you raising that, because I think it might be important. It's important to have the dialogue so that you benefit, we benefit, and most importantly, the students get their CDLs.
Mm-hmm. The one thing I'm thinking, I'm not sure if MMTA or Main Savings is a vendor for said 17 school districts. So I may be contacting you guys for employer ID and the W9?
W9.
Yeah. If we don't already have something on file.
So that would be with Main Savings, because they're the ones that are going to be issuing the loan.
Oh, okay. So Rick, I'm going to need a W9 because I know I don't have one.
That's fine. We can do whatever's necessary.
Okay.
We live by our compliance, and even our relationship with MMTA does not require it to be a vendor relationship. So W9s are not required on our side. So it's pretty much we furnish loans which aren't necessarily a part of a vendor relationship. There's no contract to really consider beyond that.
Where we're going to be receipting in money and possibly doing some back and forth invoicing. I don't see that happening, but just in case, I know somebody will ask me for W-9, so,
And it's potential that we may be asking for W-9s for those people who we actually pay out for a loan proceeds for. But
Mhm.
again, it's the loan proceed. I don't believe there's any necessity for W-9s for any of those type of transactions for our
okay,
side.
okay. All right. Rick, do I have your email address?
If you don't, it's rmoore, RMOORE
Uh-huh.
at mainsavings.com. And hopefully
If-
doing this crawl, walk, run, I will be available for the crawl period. And I'll be passing the walk and run off to my staff once this thing's up and going well.
Okay. If someone comes in and they're already a member of another credit union, what's the process? Do they need to then join Main Savings or?
Yes, they would. They have to be a member of Main Savings in order to borrow on this loan program.
Okay,
No other credit unions are involved in this program.
okay,
That costs them $5, right?
It's $5, yes. And that process is all electronic as well. The membership can all be funded, again, all the same day.
okay. Okay. Is everything that the student needs to know on the MMTA website? So if we just maybe printed out a couple of pages of something, it would kind of give the gist?
We have a flyer that I will send to you as soon
Okay.
as we get off this Zoom call. And maybe what we'll do, that's a good point. Maybe we'll put it right on the link on our site, downloadable flyer, click here kind of thing.
And will that flyer link to approved training providers?
We have not done that.
Hint,
We
hint.
we haven't done it. So Tim and I will talk about that internally, and we may list the schools that have been approved, which would be a good idea, because there's no sense in a student, saying, oh, I can get a 0% interest loan from MMTA and I'm going to an unapproved school.
Right, and we're ramping up for all the changes happening in February. We've got, I'm hearing some schools are backing off on their training right now and some are ramping up. So it would be nice to have, the fresh, especially right now, the fresh list of approved providers here, even though I know you can probably get it someplace else. Having to dig for it would be kind of frustrating for a potential student who happens to be kind of within, not real close to any one provider. They could pick and choose which one they wanted to go to.
And with that, Brian, if you do happen to have added anyone else or are anticipating to add anyone else, obviously let me know, because we have to change our application process to add that additional school.
Yep, absolutely.
Are there any other schools who are close to being willing to be part of this program?
No, we've reached out to all that are authorized by the state of Maine, and we've told them what we're doing. We've told them what we're asking for as far as a response, and those that have responded with the refund policy that's acceptable to us are listed as approved to get these loans. There are some that we have not heard back from. So,
okay.
We may do a little bit more communication with those folks, but by and large, right now we've got the list of schools here someplace.
Is it 7? Is it
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yep.
7? Okay.
Well, I'm out of questions.
Oh.
I tried to keep it going till 10, but
Well, we appreciate the effort, and like we said, we're trying to keep this simple and effective.
Yeah.
And if from your perspective you find that it's neither of those things or one of those things is lacking, please let us know. Again, we can run a trucking trade association relatively well, but doing this type of thing is out of our comfort zone. So we'll rely on folks like you and Rick to tell us what it is that we should know, and in an effort to make it even more effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this actually sounds like a really great program. I think if it cuts it down to 2 income sources, either the loan or the Career Center money or the federal money, that would make it so much easier. We wouldn't be chasing payments from the students, and they wouldn't have to worry about, oh my God, I can't make a payment this month and there's significant payments because the program is, 3 or 4 months or long, and then the tuition's $5,500. So you break that down per month, that's a chunk of change. So
without income, likely.
right. Yeah. No, this sounds good.
And it's again, to notate on what Brian said earlier, that there are no credit score requirements. If someone has no credit, someone who's just getting out of high school, there are no requirements to have credit. They'll be approved instantly for the program.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, they'll start establishing credit through this program.
Yep.
At the end of the day, this whole program is designed to be mutually beneficial to everyone involved. As an industry, we're going to put more drivers out there. As a school, you have the ability to bring in students, and our employers are hopefully going to see the results of this on the other end by having potential employees come to them. So It's win-win-win with very little fanfare.
Mm-hmm. I just thought of something too. We're in the process of putting our fall catalog together, and once Brian, I get the flyer, I may put that flyer in our catalog so students know up front that there's a loan available if they qualify. And that way, anybody who's kind of on the fence, well, I don't know if I can afford it, well, this will make it easier. So I can help out that way. And it also will go on our website.
Perfect. Wonderful. Yep. Great. Well, okay. If you're out of questions, Tina, and if you think of more, certainly feel free to email us, email Rick. If they're loan questions. But we'll wind our way through this, and we'll get more CDL drivers behind the wheel, safe CDL drivers behind the wheel, and start to attack this workforce development shortage that we've got going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Well, it was nice talking with everyone. Nice to meet you, Rick, and
You, Tina. Thank
Likewise.
you.
have a good morning.
Thanks.
All right.
Take care.
Yeah.
See you again,
Bye.
Tina.
Bye-bye.